Welcome back. So, last time we looked over the prerequisites and now to the nuts and bolts of what this course is about. Look at Proverbs 2:5. Then you will discern the fear of the Lord and discover the knowledge of God. So, what does it mean to know God? Well, knowing God is one way the ancient Hebrew prophets and sages referred to an intimate relationship with God. The fear of the Lord refers to this deep sense of awe, a high regard for the person, the character, the power, the presence of God, to a keen sense of accountability. The question is, do I take God seriously? As Isaiah discovered, the closer we get to God, the greater this sense of awe. I think the goal of knowing God, of experiencing Him as He really is the goal of this passage. God's the only treasure we're seeking. So, if understanding the fear of the Lord and finding the knowledge of God is the desired outcome, then what are the benefits? You may have noticed that I prefer to think of course objectives as benefits. Either expression works, but objective seems more mechanical maybe, and benefit speaks more to what changes, what blessings come. So, what are the benefits of knowing God? Scan Proverbs chapter 2, verses 6 through 22. Give it a quick scan and then let's get back together and talk about it. Well, good to have you back. First of all, there's the benefit of moral protection. Did you see that in verses 6 through 8? Wisdom is in parallel with the victory that's experienced by those who are described as upright, blameless, just, faithful. Wisdom is opposed to perversity, to guilt, to injustice, to unfaithfulness. And that makes sense, doesn't it? You see, morality is not what everyone else is doing. Morality is not determined by a Gallup poll. The American Heritage Dictionary defines moral as pertaining to the discernment of good and evil. I think it has more to do with reflecting God's character than it does reflecting contemporary social practices. The more intimately I know God, the greater my protection from evil and from the evil one. So, look at verses 9 through 11. You see terms like discern, discretion, understanding. See, the closer my relationship with God, the better I become in exercising good judgment. Now, I'm not talking about rules keeping in order to earn God's favor. Look at the text. Wisdom will enter your heart. Knowledge will be pleasant to your soul. Verse 10. And what's the outcome? Discretion will protect you and understanding will guard you. Verse 11. Well, another benefit is that knowing God intimately will rescue me from false philosophy. Verse 12. As he interacted with the writings of G.K. Chesterton, Emile Camer observed that the first effect of not believing in God is to believe in anything. And you and I both know that our society is replete with examples of folks whose minds are so open that all sorts of foolishness falls in. Right is wrong, wrong is right, God is myth, Humanity is the real divinity. Jesus was just a man, and, the list goes on. But knowing God intimately also provides the benefit of rescuing me from moral decay. Look at verses 13 and following. You don't have to read too many pages of the Star Trib or the Pioneer Press or Time Magazine or any news outlet and not be impressed that society is plagued by evil, corruption, perversion, immorality. One doesn't have to hear very much of these stories to get the sense of the seductive power of the evil one. But the more I tend to knowing God, the more highly I value that personal relationship, the more I treasure God's word in my heart, the more I experience God's powerful deliverance from the influence of evildoers. It doesn't mean I'm isolated from that influence. It's in the workplace, on the campus, in the neighborhood. It's in the culture. It's not that I'm isolated from it, but I get insulated from it. And there's another benefit. Verse 20. It introduces me into the company of righteous people. And I get to develop encouraging relationships with other students and coworkers and friends and neighbors who are also in hot pursuit of the holy, one-of-a-kind God of the universe. What a treasure. And so what's the conclusion? Look at the last couple of verses. The biblical sage reminds me that God holds me accountable. What or whom I pursue is of eternal consequence. So let's go for the gold. Think about it. We'll see you in a bit.